Welcome back to our Python Basics series. Today, we're going to be talking about lists. Now, lists are one of the most important data types that there are, but there's a lot to cover. Make sure you check out the description down below, where I'm going to be including the material as well as practice guides, because you'll want to practice this and learn it so that you can use it when programming. With that being said, let's go and take a look. Alright, so we're now in Visual Studio Code to take a look at lists. For review, lists are used to store multiple items in a single variable. Items within a list are ordered, changeable, and allow duplicate values. By ordered, this just means that they have a defined order that's not going to change. For previously discussed data types, which were strings, integers, and floats, these were all immutable, meaning the objects could not be changed. That's why we would essentially override the variable to update the value. Lists, on the other hand, are mutable. This means that they can be changed. The syntax for creating lists are square brackets with the values separated by commas. Alright, let's go ahead and create our first list. We can create a variable named x and set it equal to a list using brackets. For items within the list, let's add car brands. These are going to be string data types. We can come within our list and add each one. Each one has to be separated by a comma. So we'll add Tesla, let's do BMW, and then we'll do Audi. Now if we print X and print the type of X, we'll see that when we run it, it prints out our list and tells us that it's a list. A little trick for formatting lists are we can spread them across multiple lines just to make it easier to read within the editor. We can do this like so. As you can see, when we run it, it gives us the same output, but up here, it's just easier to read. Another thing to know about lists are that we can include any data type as an item of the list. If we wanted to, we could add additional data types like integers, floats, or even another list containing more values. Now if we run this code, you'll see that we still have a list, but we have string values, we have integers, we have floats, and we have a list, and this list is made up of integers. We can go ahead and remove this and go back to our original list. So one built-in function that we can use is length. This will tell us how many items a list has. One thing to note is we can also use this for other data types like strings to get the length of that. To use this function, let's go ahead and get rid of these two print statements. The length function just takes one argument and it's the list. In our case, our list name is X. This will return how many items are in our list. In our case, we have 3 items. So now if we print this out, we can go ahead and run it, and we'll see that it prints 3. Similar to the string, integer, and float functions we learned, this one has one as well called list. This constructor returns a list. One thing we can do is give it a string, and it'll break that into individual items and put it within a list. For example, let's come up here and create a variable x and set that equal to the list function, and then let's pass in my name. Now, if we print X, it's going to print a list where each item in the list is a letter of my name. We'll go ahead and run this now, and you'll see that there's a list and each item is an individual letter of my name. Before we move on, there's one more thing we should talk about when creating lists. As we know, they can have duplicate values. If we want, we can use something called repetition. This is something that can also be applied to strings. In our code, let's just modify X so that it equals a list with the word repeat. And then we want this repeated 10 times. To do that, we simply put a star and 10. Now, when we run this code, X is going to be equal to a list that says repeat 10 times. Now that we know how to create a list, let's take a look at what we can actually do with them. To do this, let's create an example that we can use for the rest of the video. Let's go ahead and delete everything and create a new variable called coins. We'll set that equal to a list, and then we'll include all of the coins. We have a penny, a nickel, a dime, a quarter, a $50, and a dollar. Now, using this example, the first thing we're going to talk about is referencing values within a list using something called indexing. This is something we touched on in the string episode, and we have an entire video dedicated to. As a reminder, index refers to the position of an item, and it starts as 0, incrementing by 1. In our example, penny is the 0th index, a nickel is the first index, dime is second, quarter third, $50 is fourth, and dollar is fifth. Just like with strings, we can come down here and reference coins and give it an index, say 0, and this will return the item in the 0th index of the coins list. In our case, that's penny. To show this, we can come over here and we can say print coins index 0, and then when we come down and click run, you'll see that it prints out penny. Something else we can do with lists, just like with strings, is concatenate them. For example, if we come back up in our code and create a variable called bills, we can say that we have the dollar bill and then the $5 bill. We'll keep just the two of these for simplicity. If we wanted to join these two lists, we can come down and create a new variable called money and say that's equal to coins plus bills. Now if we came down and printed money, we'll see that when we run it, all the values are combined into a single list. So something else we're able to do is delete items within a list using their index. To do this, let's go back in our code and let's just remove this. And we're left with just the variable coins, which is equal to a list of all the coins. If we wanted to delete dime from the list, we know that dime is in the second index. To delete it, we would type del space, and then we would reference the coins list and say the second index. So we can come up here and we can print coins before we delete dime from it, and then we'll print it right after as well. When we come down here and run the code, you'll see it prints our list twice. The first time it includes dime, which is when we printed it here, and then we deleted dime from the coins list, and then we printed coins again. And as you can see in the second list, it removed it. The next thing we're going to talk about are methods. Lists have tons of methods that we can use on them, so let's go over some of the most useful ones. The first one we're going to talk about is append. The append method appends an element to the end of the list. We can take a look at an example by removing this code, so we're left with just the coins variable. Let's say the US Treasury came out with a new coin called the $5. If we wanted to add this to our list, we could reference the coins variable and say .append and add the new value. What this does is it appends $5 as the last value within our list. If we want to see this, we can come down and say print and coins to see the coins list. Now if we run this, we'll see that $5 is an item within our list. The next method we're going to talk about is insert. The insert method inserts the specified value at the specified position. This is very similar to append, but append adds a value to the end of the list when insert allows us to choose the position the value should be. To use this, let's go ahead and go back to our original variable. For this one, let's say that the US Treasury released a new coin that was worth $0.75. We would want this value to show up in between the $50 and the dollar. Using the insert method, we could say coins.insert, and the first thing we have to give it is the index where we want to put it, in our case, 5. Then we'll say comma and give it the value of our new currency. In our case, it's going to be the $0.75. Now we can come and print coins, and we'll see our new value in the list. Let's go ahead and run it, and you'll see that we have penny, nickel, dime, quarter, $50, $0.75, dollar. Another method is count. The count method returns the number of elements with the specified value. If we look at our code, every item occurs only once. For the sake of this example, let's go ahead and say that there's 2 occurrences of the word dollar. To use this method, let's go ahead and delete these 2 lines and count how many times dollar occurs. To do this, let's start by saying coins.count, and then we pass in the value we want to count, in our case, dollar. If we print this, it's returning 2. When we run it, you'll see that it counted that dollar occurred twice. Now, if we came down and said print coins.count, and we said penny, you'll see that it counted that dollar occurred twice while penny occurred once. The next method we're going to talk about is index. This method returns the position at the first occurrence of the specified value. Remember, lists can have duplicate values, which we see with dollar, and this will only return the index of the first time it occurs. For this example, let's go ahead and keep both instances of dollar within our list. We can delete these 2 lines. To use the index method, we would use coins and say .index, and let's look for the first occurrence of the word dollar. Let's also look for the first occurrence of the word dime. To do this, coins.index, and we're going to say dime. Now, if we come back here and wrap these in print statements, we'll be able to see where it finds these. We'll go ahead and run it, and we can see that the first time I found dollar was in the index position 5, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For dime, we see that it found it in the second index, which is 0, 1, 2. So moving on, we have another method called pop. This method removes the elements at the specified position. This achieves the same thing as delete. Looking at our example, we still have 2 occurrences of the word dollar. Let's go ahead and remove these 2 lines. Using the .pop method, we can remove the last instance of dollar. To do this, we can say coins.pop and give it the index of 6. We'll go ahead and print the coins list before we delete that, and then also after we delete it. Now when we run this, you'll see that there are 2 instances of dollar before we pop it, and then after there's only 1. Another method we can use is remove. This method removes the first occurrence of an element with the specified value. We can use the same example, but let's go ahead and move dollar up higher just so you can see what it's truly doing. The only thing we need to change is instead of using pop, we're going to use remove. So let's go ahead and replace this with coins.remove, and we're going to remove dollar. We're still going to print the list before and after we've removed this value. If we go ahead and run this, you'll see that dollar is included here and here before we use the .remove. Once we say .remove dollar, you'll notice that it removes the first instance of dollar, but it keeps the second one. Another method is reverse. This method reverses the sorting of the elements. Let's go ahead and remove this extra dollar and then replace this line down here. All we have to do is say coins.reverse with an open and close parentheses. Now when we come down here and run it, you'll see that the original list goes penny, nickel, dime, quarter, half dollar, dollar. But once we reverse it, it goes in the opposite order from dollar, half dollar, quarter, dime, nickel, penny. This brings us to our last method, which is called sort. This method sorts the list ascending by default. To demonstrate this, let's go ahead and remove this. And then let's say coins.sort. This is going to sort our list alphabetically. What we can do is come down here and click run. As you can see, here's our original list, and then we ran .sort, and here is our alphabetically sorted list. If you would like to sort by descending order, there's an optional argument called reverse that you can set to true. To do this, you can say sort, and within your parentheses, say reverse equals true. As a reminder, true is a Boolean data type, meaning that the T must be capitalized. If we come down here and run it again, you'll see our original list, and then you'll see our sorted list, except it's in descending order now. This about covers all of the things you should know before starting to work with lists. As stated in the beginning of the video, this was a lot of information to take in, so please don't forget to check the description down below. I will include plenty of material that you can go and review so that you can really get comfortable working with this data type. Make sure you watch our next video on tuples. Thank you for watching, and please like, comment, share, and subscribe.